Okay, Sspopiikimi, good morning. It is Monday, March 12th, 2018, in the last part of the lunar cycle Sspopiikimi, the eagle moon, the last sliver. Really hard to believe that Sspopiikimi is already coming to an end. It feels like it just got here, and even outside here it still feels like Sspopiikimi. The river's not melting at all yet, the pond's not melting at all yet. Still quite cold. It's about 6 degrees, 7 degrees below zero this morning, but the changes are happening, and with the moon it means that really we're only 2.5 weeks away from the geese laying their eggs. Things are going to be shifting up here really quick, and I can feel it, and I can, even walking in today, I could hear it. You know, I could hear the house finches singing in the distance here. I could hear the woodpeckers drilling on the cottonwoods in the forest, getting the boar grubs out, because the boar grubs are waking up. They're starting to eat their way toward the cambium of the tree, and the woodpeckers can hear it, so they're frenzying. And there's other changes, like right now I'm witnessing, I'm gonna have to get out my other camera to show you, but the geese are all coupled up and they're claiming territories here. I've seen the magpies gathering sticks for building and repairing their nests, so I'm hoping to document some of that today on film, just to show everybody, you know, the typical changes that are going on. If it was above zero, we'd start seeing some insect life. We'd start seeing some wolf spiders, some flies, but with how cold it is, we're not going to see that, but we will see, hopefully witness some of the other changes today. Let's take a short walk around the pond. Okay, so here's one of the main phenomena that you're going to see at the end of this lunar cycle, like we are today, and that is the goose couples starting to claim their territories around the pond. And the pond is still completely iced over, and yet we're only a couple of weeks away from these geese having their eggs. Here's another couple down here who are claiming some territory. You might recall that, you know, 2-3 weeks ago, the geese were starting to come to the pond again to look at these territories, but they were still in their kind of nuclear families from the previous summer season. The parents had their goslings still with them. Now they've pushed the goslings away, and they're starting to go spend time in the areas where they believe they're going to nest. And we are very close to that time. Very close. Surprisingly close. When I repeat myself like that and use the word very, I feel like I'm talking like Donald Trump. It's European starling, one of the first of the migrating birds to return. There's always some that stick around here all winter, but the numbers are increasing. We might even see flocks of them today, so they are returning. The migration's beginning. Another migrant that's early, well, not early, but they're the first to returns, are the crows. We won't see them down here probably, but up in the subdivisions in the neighborhoods, I'm seeing them up there. Geese are starting to stick around here to eat. They can get at some of the grass on the golf greens rather than flying the long distance to the away from the nesting grounds to get to the stubble fields of the farms. Lots of geese. There's a couple. And I can just hear the house finches and chickadees around, but I'm not seeing them. Yeah, it's getting warm, relatively speaking. For a guy in Alberta, it's feeling warm. When I started off back at the parking lot, way back there, I looked at the temperature and it was -7. And then I just walked the west length here, made my couple of video notes, what I was seeing. Might have taken me 15-20 minutes to make that walk. Took my time. But in just that short span, I just looked at the temperature again, and it was -3 degrees. So it's a change of about 3-4 degrees that's occurred. And the reason that I thought to even check again was because it was getting too warm, feeling a little bit too warm with my toque on. Just something about the angle of the sun. The rays are warm. I can feel them whenever I'm not in the shadow. I can feel the sun. Of course, now that I have my toque off, I'm feeling like maybe I'll put it back on because it's not that warm. But I was feeling a little bit of heat up there. Looks like there's some mallards down here in the South Pond Spring with a few geese. So I'll pull out my other camera and show you those guys. Yeah, so by my count, there are about 15 mallards in the spring today with the one goose couple that's claiming this area. And this is the one goose couple who had their last year's brood with them a couple of weeks ago. Now you can see they're all alone. They've pushed them off, but they're with mallards, so I guess not all alone. But the mallards don't compete with them for nesting space or anything, or food, so it's all good. But yeah, when I was here with my students just yesterday, there were 6 mallards, 3 couples, so the numbers are going up. Prior to that, we weren't seeing any mallards stopping off at the spring all winter. Here in the forest main, there's still a couple of families of white-tailed deer. They've been here for about a month, and by my last count there was maybe 12 of them in small herds, or 2 families, one in the forest main and one in the owlwood. Could be more, but they've become a regular feature here. But then the forest has been quiet of people for the most part. I mean, people have been coming here, but not nearly what there are in the summer. Turning this direction, looking up in the canopy, we have Geese, Porcupine, and all the branches at the top of this tree, well, several of them anyway, have been stripped of their bark by this porcupine. Porcupine's been here for at least a week now, but there's I noticed over here a newcomer. See if I can sight him through the trees here. There's another porcupine right up there. It is kind of that time of year, I think, when the small mammals will be mating. They got about I think about a 2-month gestation, and so, you know, late May they should be having their, latter part of May they should be having their broods for the year. So maybe this one is here as a mate, attracted to this other. I don't know. I don't really know if porcupines follow that same breeding cycle like raccoons and skunks and such, but I wouldn't doubt it. You can hear the chatter of some of the starlings around me here in the forest. Now I know some people would look at that, the way that the porcupine strips the bark off some of the branches in the canopy. They'd look at that and they'd see it as destructive. Same way they look at, you know, when a beaver knocks down a tree or something like that, they'd view it as destructive. And they might wonder how much, you know, of an impact the porcupines have on a forest. But me, I think of it the opposite way. I start looking at it, well, you know, not just the opposite. I don't want to make it as polemics or anything, but I recognize that the porcupines have been here a long time. And to me, they're very much like a land beaver. You know, when you look at their face, their body, their habits, you know, their feeding, all of that. In a lot of ways, they're like a beaver. Their body's really shaped like a beaver. They've got a lot of the same features. And, of course, the wood-eating thing. And beavers, in spite of knocking down trees, are fabulous members in the ecological system here. They're fantastic. I mean, there are places where beavers can really significantly change the landscape if they're introduced. You know, like Tierra del Fuego introduced beavers, and that was a dumb move because there wasn't any predators there, and the beavers are rapidly changing the landscape, and they didn't belong down there, right? But the beavers do belong here, and these forests wouldn't even exist without them. And so when I see the porcupine up there at the forest canopy stripping those branches, I have to ask myself, what role does that play in the ecology? Because I'm betting that the porcupines aren't just helping themselves when they strip that bark. They may be helping the trees in some ways. They may be helping other animals. Certainly in the past, they helped humans because in the Blackfoot tradition, live trees were not knocked down for firewood. The only firewood that was collected was the dead branches and the dead trees. And so porcupines were really the providers of a lot of firewood, I believe in the past. But what's their ecological role today? Certainly they have one. Certainly they're, you know, what they're doing up there is most likely far from destructive. Most likely something that leads to more creation. But I don't have all the answers. All I can say is that, you know, if you look at what these animals are doing with that negative slant, you're going to miss the potential to learn from them what we can about the ecology and about how an animal can fit better into it, which is something we really desperately need to learn for ourselves. Well, I guess that's about it for me this morning. I really thought we'd probably run into some more woodpecker activity in the forest and maybe some more magpies gathering sticks for their nest. These are things that I've witnessed a lot of in the past few days. But the birds are not performers, you know. So if I was to stick around here a few more hours, I'd probably catch some of that activity, but I've got other things to do today as well. Just out for an hour and a half, quick walk around, get some fresh air, and at least we got to see some of the things that are changing out here, but stuff is gonna start shifting very rapidly. So probably I'll be putting together more frequent nature videos as we go along. I mean, really, it's only a month away from my rattlesnakes waking up. I bet, like, we're at March 12th. I'm betting by April 12th, my snakes are going to be awake. So things are going to be happening here really quick. There's going to be a lot of migrating birds coming in. The insects are going to emerge. The plants are going to emerge. It's going to be something else. It always is. And it's always overwhelming, but I'll try to get out here and show what I can of it. So, till next time, again,